was really a crisis at the border in May and June of 2019, where there was just horrible overcrowding, which led to terrible conditions. And the people who were monitoring the situation reached out to Renee Cathawala at ORIC. We stepped up and said, we're here ready to do anything we can do to protect the children.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Thank you so much for participating in this event to support the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. We really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. My name is Paul Revlin from PRP Wine International, and I wanted to go ahead and walk you through a little bit of a wine tasting that you might experience with PRP. I have with me Nancy Sue and David Shee, a couple of PRP clients that have been with us for a few years now and enjoyed many of our wines and our wine tastings. So we're going to walk you through a couple of different wines tonight, one white and one red. The first wine that we're going to be trying is actually the wine that would have come in the mail to you guys. This was from, for those of you that donated early to the event. So our first wine is the 2018 Duca de Amalfi. This comes to us from Italy, from a little town in the very northeast of Italy called Valdadige, excuse me. So let's go ahead and start off with our white wine, give it a little swirl and see what we can see. So this wine is a blend of Nocciola, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Blanc, and Chardonnay. So let's give it a little smell and see what we can smell. What are you guys getting on the nose with this wine?
Yeah, a little honey.
A little honey?
It's like apricots or something that's slightly jammy. It's very fruity on the sweeter side.
Yeah, apricots for sure. Maybe a little bit of green apple, but I definitely agree with the apricots. And then when you're ready, we can go ahead and taste, unless you have more.
I'm ready. It's very light.
Ooh, that's very nice.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a light, very fruit forward.
That would go good with like a Granny Smith apple
And brie?
brie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little toasted walnut on top, candied walnut. That'd be delicious.
Yeah, so this is definitely a lighter wine. Very little oak. A lot more fruit flavor than anything else. I'm getting more of those apricot flavors that you were noticing on the nose with this wine. I do like the idea of pairing this with a Granny Smith apple and a little bit of brie. That would be good.
It's good on a hot summer day.
Yeah,
This will be perfect.
Summertime wine. This is the porch pounder, as we call it. So you sit out by the pool and stick a straw in this bottle and just hang out.
Easy drinking.
Easy drinker for sure. Dangerous in that sense. Luckily, it's only 11% alcohol, so it's not that dangerous as far as wine goes. But maybe a Caesar salad, something like that. Something really light.
Like a light meal, yes.
I think, yeah, something really light with this wine. More of a sit outside and drink wine than a pair with dinner sort of a thing.
Yeah. Maybe
That's nice.
snacks. Like afternoon snacks or maybe happy hours.
Definitely sit in a hammock and enjoy this wine. All right. So for those of you at home, if you do have this wine, you go ahead and crack it open and see if you can experience some of the same notes that we were getting with this wine. If you don't, you can always feel free to contact Legal Aid and get yourself a bottle. I know they have a few left. But let's move on to the red one and see what we got. This is actually a really special wine that I'm happy to share with you guys because this is kind of a new wine for us. So this next wine is the Roger 1930. So this wine comes to us from Chile, and this is 100% Syrah. So the reason for the name, the 1930, is this winemaker's grandfather was actually a winemaker in France, and he came to Chile in 1930 and started making wines in Chile. So as an homage to his grandfather, he named this wine the Roger 1930. So this wine is actually double oaked. So it was aged in French and American barrels before bottling. Again, 100% Syrah. So going to be considerably different from the last wine we just had, but yeah, let's see what we get with this one.
That's a good nose.
And there's a lot more tearing on the glass with this wine, so right away we can kind of tell that there's a higher alcohol content. That last one was 11%, this one's 13.5.
There's a familiar taste smell to it, but I cannot place it. It's not grass. It's not grassy.
there's a smokiness to it.
Yeah.
Little hints of vanilla, which is probably coming from the French oak.
100% Syrah, you said?
Yes.
That's delicious.
So, and on the nose, as far as fruits, I am getting some darker fruit flavors here, or darker fruit notes. So blackberry,
Some cherries.
dark cherries. Yep, for sure. All right, on the palate, considerably fuller bodied than the last wine.
Yes.
a big step up in the flavor department. Not as dry as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
For all of that time spent in oak and all of the aging. So still a lot of fruit character.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the oak still coming through. But what were you guys tasting with this wine?
Definitely a step up from this one as far as flavoring. Not as dry or tanny as I had expected or
Soft
thought
tannins.
for. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
very soft tannins
Yeah.
to it.
We allow the richer fruit, like the cherries, the blackberries.
Yeah, I have to say, I was expecting, because of the double oaking, I was expecting a lot more of the oak tannin coming through.
Yeah,
And it's
soft.
really soft. And just
Nice.
a peek behind the curtain, we did decant this wine for an hour or so before pouring, so maybe that could be contributing to the softness, but I really was expecting a little bit of a harsher tannin from all the oak, but I was not getting it here. Really silky. Still a lot of fruit flavor.
Yeah.
The cherry notes that I'm getting on the palate are a little bit lighter than the ones I was smelling. I was smelling these like richer dark cherry, but on the palate it's almost more like a raspberry, like a very bright red fruit
Yeah.
flavor. What are we thinking about for food with this wine?
Maybe lamb or
Hmm.
pork chops.
Oh yeah, chops for sure.
Yeah.
Nice burger.
Yeah, I can see a good
Yeah.
burger with this. Yeah, I think anything barbecued is going to be great. I love
Yeah.
I love the chop call with this wine. And it would not even lambing, any sort of chop is going to be good. You put chop behind any meat, and I think it's going to go well with this wine. But yeah, barbecued meats for sure. I think if you had like a good aged cheese, you could go with this wine. But I'm really feeling more of those meats and the barbecued meats would be best here.
Some dark chocolate.
Yeah, I could see some dark chocolate with this wine too. That's a good one. All right.
Very nice.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. If you would like to have a wine tasting, or if you want to pick up any of the fine wines that we've tried here tonight, you can go ahead and go to our website, prpwine.com, and look at our selection. Otherwise, please stick around and enjoy the rest of the benefit, and thank you so much for supporting Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. Good night.
Good night.
Please welcome Sylvia Argueta, Executive Director, Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles.
Good evening and welcome to our first ever virtual Access to Justice event. I have the privilege of serving as LAFLA's Executive Director, and this evening, as your host, I am so very grateful to have you as part of tonight's program. Our annual Access to Justice event is usually celebrated in a hotel ballroom with hundreds of friends and supporters gathered to celebrate and recognize our champions and honorees who make our work possible. This year, due to COVID-19, we, just like you, had to adjust and reimagine how we stay true and fulfill our mission in this new normal. While we forgo the formalities of our typical dinner, it was important for us to come together, reaffirm and pledge our support to those who need us most, our clients. While the pandemic has hit us hard, it is undeniable that the most vulnerable and marginalized among us are struggling at unfathomable levels. That is why we are here this evening, to support the thousands of individuals and families who are facing eviction right now. The women and children who are not safer at home because they are forced to live with an abusive person. The single parents who have to play the role of a stay-at-home teacher while maintaining the only source of income as an essential employee. The homeless people of this great metropolis who continue to bear the brunt of income inequality. But we, together, have the opportunity to make a real difference. Throughout our program this evening, you will hear some of the ways our collective efforts are changing the lives of thousands of our neighbors. 2020 has challenged us in ways that we could not have imagined. At LAFLA, we remain open and ready to serve our clients, albeit remotely. Pre-pandemic, our clients were already burdened by structures that kept communities of color, disenfranchised them, and kept them in poverty and impoverished. Most of us cannot imagine having to make the decisions our clients make every day. Do I buy food and put it on the table, or do I pay my rent? Do I buy medicine, or do I pay my electric bill? Do I buy school supplies, or pay down my debts at 20%? The COVID-19 pandemic has laid bare the disparities in our county, particularly around structural racism that results in vast income inequality. Racism that has created discriminatory healthcare and education systems, keeping communities of color in low-paying jobs. In 2020, these jobs are called essential. So our clients have no choice but to continue working during this pandemic, resulting in far greater number of infections and death. The pandemic has laid bare these inequalities that disproportionately affect communities of color. Twice as many people of color under 65 have died from coronavirus, and 75% who have died are Black, Latinx, or Native American. Our work is fundamentally about securing the promise of equal justice. Poverty or race should not be a barrier to attaining the most fundamental rights, such as basic health care and housing, protection and safety from abuse, economic stability, fair working conditions, and just pay. Yet for many of our clients, these fundamental rights that most of us take for granted are simply out of reach due to racial and economic injustice. To the staff at LAFLA, who work with communities of color every day, this isn't news. It is merely an affirmation of the unequal systems that exist to keep our clients in poverty. They know and understand the relentless attacks our clients face every day that threaten their stability, health, and safety. Our challenge at LAFLA is to not only address these barriers individually with direct individual representation, but to work on systemic change that will impact whole communities of people living in poverty. I am so proud and honored to work with a staff that is dogged about securing justice for our clients. They have dedicated their careers to breaking down barriers and seeking justice. For example, our eviction attorneys are on the front line of rapidly changing laws. Sarah Kanjagi, Ryan Kendall, and Chris Homenberg are briefing whether the CDC order requires the Inglewood Court to stop a scheduled sheriff's lockout. Evictions are expected to triple as a result of lost income during the pandemic. Bridget Greason Alvarez successfully advocated for the release of a 65-year-old man with hypertension from Adelanto Detention Center. He'd been in detention for 3 years and was at severe risk from COVID-19. 20% of detained immigrants are testing positive. Shayla Myers, with the assistance of Mallory Andrews, Leslie Juarez, and Pro Bono Counsel, is going into court Monday for a contempt motion brought against the City of Los Angeles for violating an injunction that prohibits the city from seizing so-called bulky items from people living on the street. Imagine. Over 66,000 people live on the streets of LA County, a third of whom are black. A recent LAFLA study stated that racism is the root cause of the overrepresentation of black people experiencing homelessness. The staff's dedication and perseverance is inspiring. I am grateful to each of you. Tonight, I want to thank our sponsors, starting with our angel sponsor, Munger, Tolles & Olson. Our guardian angel sponsors, Latham and Watkins and Morgan Lewis. And our guardian sponsors, Gibson Dunn, Kirkland and Ellis, O'Melveny and Myers, Quinn Emanuel, and Shepard Mullen. For a complete list of our sponsors, please visit our event page. My deepest appreciation for your continued support of LAFLA's critical work. And if you too would like to support our important work, please text LAFLA 2020 to 44-321 or visit our auction, which will remain open until 8:30 p.m. this evening. Our program this evening will feature remarks by LAFLA alumni and our community partners who help make our work possible. It also features guest speakers who join us from television, the theater, and the big screen. Here to start us off is Richard Kind, Tony nominee and Drama Desk winner for his performance in the Broadway hit The Big Knife, and Cynthia Strathman, Executive Director of Strategic Actions for a Just Economy.
Good evening. My name is Richard Kind. I am honored and privileged to talk to you tonight, and I speak tonight, oddly enough, in honor of my friend, Billy Colon. Billy was a lawyer in Chicago, a dear friend of mine. When I was at Second City in Chicago, I was friends with a lot of guys who were civilians, who were not actors. They were lawyers or doctors or finance people. One was in insurance. And Billy was a lawyer. Billy was the smartest person of us all. Whenever we would play hearts, we'd have 92 points or 78 points. He always had 7. Or when we played bridge, he'd just kill us all. Or when we'd have conversations, he was certainly the most eloquent, if not the most humane. And he was a lawyer, executive director for the Chicago legal assistance, or the legal foundation assistance in Chicago, in metropolitan Chicago. And I would ask my friends, I certainly wouldn't ask him, why is he working there? He was a graduate of Cornell Law School. Why didn't he wasn't making a great salary? And they said that he did work in corporate law and he just hated it. And he used to volunteer for the Legal Assistance Foundation in Chicago and learned to love it and joined and rose in the ranks and became executive director. Sadly, he is the victim of what happens to good people, why bad things happen to good people. At age 55, about eight years ago, he passed away. Oddly enough, or ironically enough, of colon cancer. His name was Billy Colon, K-O-L-E-N. He passed away of colon cancer. I know what your organization does because I knew what his organization did. I helped him a few times, and now I'm proud to help you. I hope that you give and give generously. It's an important organization. And if I can speak very intimately, these are really tough times. I know how tough they are, but for the people who you help, they're always tough times. So I want to thank the people who work at the LAFLA, the people who volunteer there, and you, the donors, who make it all possible that the LAFLA should exist. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Strathman. I work at SAGE, Strategic Actions for a Just Economy. We're a nonprofit in South Los Angeles that works on tenant rights, healthy housing, and equitable development. We support LAFLA's mission because we know how important it is for regular people in this city, even people who don't have a lot of money, or even people who don't have a lot of connections, to be able to have representation when they're trying to defend their rights. Every day at SAGE, somebody calls us or comes into our offices and tells us that they're being harassed by their landlord or threatened with an illegal eviction, or maybe that their landlords have neglected the apartments for so long that they're actually uninhabitable. We need organizations like LAFLA in Los Angeles to help tenants defend their own rights so that they can stay here. At SAGE, we believe that everybody has a right to the city, that the city was made what it is, a vibrant, interesting, fun, creative, productive place, by all of us. And organizations like LAFLA help us build that vision, preserve the housing that we have, protect tenants where they are, and fight for a better future for Los Angeles. So thank you, LAFLA.
A big thank you to Jim and Elizabeth Burgess for giving us the text to give donations. We are now at 3,000. Come on, let's keep it going. The support that you give to LAFLA has an incredible impact, one that changes the lives of thousands of our vulnerable neighbors across Greater LA. Without LAFLA, many of them would not have access to the resources to fight for their rights, keep their families safe, and build a better future. Peter and Misty lost their home, and Peter even became homeless for a short while after their landlord used property damage from a fire to convert their affordable housing into vacation rentals. LAFLA, along with Inquilinos Unidos and Pro Bono Council, Kirkland and Ellis, negotiated a resettlement agreement that enabled Peter, Misty, and the other tenants to move into new homes. Holly came to the Long Beach office domestic violence clinic, fearing for her life and fighting to regain custody of her toddler after her abusive partner lied to get a restraining order against her. LAFLA senior attorney Paula Cohen untangled the complex case and empowered Holly to go before a judge and share her story. The judge dismissed the partner's restraining order, granted Holly her restraining order, as well as sole custody of their child. More recently, we have helped clients fighting for their rights in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Clients like Virginia Gomez, who nearly ended up homeless with her 6 children. The owner of the residential motel where Virginia lives called police to remove her family because she could not afford the full rent at the start of a stay-at-home order. LAFLA intervened and helped Virginia assert her rights so her family did not end up on the streets during a pandemic. We have also helped clients, like one described in a recent Los Angeles Times column, who remained anonymous. This person had lost his job before the pandemic and also couldn't afford his rent. His landlord had started the eviction process, but could not legally go through with it because of COVID tenant protections. Now, his landlord enters his rental randomly for inspections, even as the tenant tries to socially distance. Now, I'm very excited to introduce our next speakers. She has been entertaining us as Peggy Bundy in Married with Children and won the Golden Globe for her as Gemma Teller Morrow in Sons of Anarchy. He leads a cast as he receives a very unexpected friend request in God Friended Me. And you can also catch him on TBS's Search Party.
Hi, this is Katie Segal. Thank you, LAFLA, for inviting me to say a few words at your Access to Justice virtual event. I would have preferred to meet all of you in person at your annual dinner, but for all of us now, this is the best we can do. I hope everyone here is making it through this tough time. It's an important time to count our blessings, and I do so every day. I have a roof over my head, a loving family, access to medical care if I get sick, and I know how lucky I am. But in this time, it is essential that we ask the question which any decent human being has got to ask themselves. What about those who are not as lucky as me? The answer to that question is where the important work of the attorneys at LAFLA come in. So many people are now out of work, unable to pay their rent, unable to find affordable housing, perhaps suffering through an abusive relationship while forced to stay at home. It seems inevitable in the near future there will be a flood of evictions affecting the city's most vulnerable population. Families forced out of their homes, often illegally, because they lack access to justice. In many of these cases, their only hope is an LAFLA attorney, a lawyer who can help them fight for what is rightfully theirs, to help them avoid becoming homeless, to help them access affordable housing, health care, to start a new future through an expunged record. This is why I'm here with you tonight. I really want to let you know that I support all you do, and to let you know how much I appreciate that you are fighting the good fight. God bless LAFLA. Thank you. Enjoy your dinner.
Hello, my name is Brandon Michael Hall, and I wanted to take a quick moment out of this long quarantine to show my appreciation, show my thanks, and my gratitude to the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles that has been providing free legal services to more than 100,000 people over Los Angeles, to helping them fight for their basic civil rights. In a time right now where we need it the most, the Legal Aid Foundation has been there supporting the communities that are underserved, the communities that are overlooked, and the communities that are marginalized. The communities that look like you and me. And we appreciate you. We thank you. So I wanted to take a quick moment, send my support, send my love, and also to remind you to get out and vote. Thank you again to the Legal Aid Services of Los Angeles for all that you do. I'm glad to be a part of your mission.
As mentioned earlier, in addition to our 5 offices that exist in the communities where our clients work and reside, LAFLA also has 13 different areas of focus and expertise, including work around expungements. Our reentry work focuses on removing barriers to employment related to criminal records so that individuals can become or stay employed. The stability that comes from obtaining employment helps reduce rates of recidivism and improves clients' lives overall. Here to highlight a recent case we closed, please welcome Karen and LAFLA staff attorney, Tyler Smith.
So in the 90s, I was convicted of a felony that was like over 20 years ago. And I'm still going through it because I've always had 2 felonies on my case, but they was old. So from lingering for so long, but it was hard because it was on my record. It didn't keep me back from my jobs because I've always had jobs, but it didn't get me the jobs that I wanted.
Karen had been a part of a different program at the WorkSource Center where I'm located in Watts, and I had been speaking with one of the individuals who was helping her with what kind of criminal record clearing is and how it can help their clients and how they can refer them to me.
I happened to be in there talking to my WorkSource Center person, and we was talking about my security, getting my guard card, and I was telling them about my record. and he was telling me about Tyler.
And then she came over to the cubicle where I sit and started asking me about, whether her cases were going to be eligible for expungement.
She just took it out the kindness of her heart. And she talked to me, she helped me, she explained things to me, told me what I needed to do, told me the things, and went from there.
So first things first is I had her bring in all of her documents. I prepared for her petitions for expungement. And as the hearings came up, we were able to get her entire record cleared within about 6 months from the initial filings. And through having her record expunged, she was most recently able to get her security guard card.
For 20 years, I couldn't get him expunged, and I went through a lot of people trying to get him expunged, and I couldn't get no help from nobody. For me to finally be able to get the help to finally get my record expunged at the age that I am now, that I could finally move forward and get something good to happen. It took a long time, but everything came out positive. I didn't expect it to come out good, especially with my record expungement.
We are very, very dedicated to our clients. We work with most of them on multiple issues, and they pretty much become like family to us. When I started in Watts, most of the individuals who came to talk to me had never even seen a Black female attorney, let alone a Black female attorney that worked for a place like Legal Aid. But Karen, in particular, is super special to me. And now, having worked with her and kind of given her as much education as possible on what her rights are and helping her remove these barriers, now that her record is cleared, she has a lot more confidence in going into jobs and applying for licenses. She knows what her background looks like. She knows what employers can and cannot look at. So I think I have been able to provide her with just an overall sense of confidence that her record shouldn't be something that's going to keep her from moving forward in her life.
She just helped. With no denying, she didn't know me for nothing. With just me going over to asking one question turned into helping me with everything. I would give it a world if I could. If I could pay her anything, I would. She know I appreciate her and thank her with all my heart.
Hey, thank you all. Those of you who are texting, keep it going. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much, Tyler, for showing us all what it means to be truly of service to others. It is because of attorneys like Tyler that LAFLA has been able to fulfill its mission for more than 90 years. Next, we have a very special musical performance in store for you. Here to welcome the group is the Executive Director of Vox Femina, Rebecca Wink.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, and everyone at LAFLA for the wonderful work that you do and for including us in today's virtual event. Vox Femina Los Angeles aims to create a world that affirms the worth and dignity of every person, just like LAFLA. When COVID-19 left us with our concerts canceled, we continued to find solace through music, albeit digitally. Embracing resilience in this time of adversity, Vox Femina is proud to perform Morris Smiley's Refugee, a piece that musically depicts the deep connections between all human beings. As Smiley put it, we're all much closer to being refugees than we want to imagine. Realizing this may remind us of our humanity. During these turbulent and divisive times, we felt that Refugee's message of empathy and acceptance was one that we all needed to hear. I hope you enjoy this virtual choir performance by Vox Femina Los Angeles.
Refugee, 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 refugee. In your world, I'm a refugee. In your world, danger all around me. was I in my world? I was standing strong in my world. My heart did belong, and now it's gone. There is only longing, only longing, only longing. Bring me shelter, I will not harm you. Bring me shelter, please. Bring me shelter, I will not harm you. I will shelter you. I am only what you are. I am only what you are. I am only what you are. What you are. What you are. Imagine you're unbreakable. World was broken and your rules to protect. Imagine you're unbreakable. Imagine you're unbreakable. World was broken. Imagine your rules to protect you. No more must you. Imagine you're unbreakable. World was broken. No broken rules to protect you. Refugee, 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 refugee.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and all the talented members of Vox Femina for this beautiful and touching performance. For information on their upcoming concert, please visit our event page. Any nonprofit organization is only as strong as its board of directors. In addition to their fiduciary responsibilities, our board plays a critical role in shaping the vision and future of LAFLA. But it is in times of great need, uncertainty, and unimaginable obstacles where we look to our board the most. I cannot imagine a more dedicated, thoughtful, and compassionate group who make up our board. Here is a special message from our board president, Michael Madigan.
Welcome to the first and therefore the best LAFLA Virtual Access to Justice Dinner. I'm Mike Madigan, the chairman of the LAFLA board. I wanted to personally welcome you and thank you for attending. 91 years ago, LAFLA started in the midst of an unprecedented crisis facing our city and our nation and the world, the Great Depression. Tonight, we gather in this unusual way in the midst of another unprecedented crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic. And just as in the Great Depression, LAFLA was born and began to serve its needy clients, today, the LAFLA staff is on the front lines of helping those most in need in Los Angeles and the surrounding communities. None of that could happen without your support. And so tonight, we thank you for being here and we thank you for supporting LAFLA's mission. Especially thank you tonight to those who have supported this virtual Access to Justice dinner, for the many sponsors who have stepped up to support this unusual event and who support LAFLA's work in so many other ways, including through pro bono work, which is needed more than ever now. I also want to give a special shout out on behalf of the entire board to the LAFLA staff. This group of essential workers, this group of frontline workers deserve to be saluted. They deserve our thanks and our admiration. You may have seen that LAFLA's work was recently featured in the Los Angeles Times. There could be articles like that every day in every publication in the country, and still not enough space to fill up, to tell all the stories of the good work that LAFLA is doing. And so tonight especially we salute them, as well as LAFLA's executive leadership and all those on the development committee who worked so hard to put this event together. So thank you again very much for being here. Thank you for supporting LAFLA. Thank you for supporting this virtual event. We hope it'll be a return to the in-person Access to Justice dinner next year. Please, please, please text to give, support LAFLA's mission. Never have more people needed LAFLA's work, and never has LAFLA needed your support more. So thank you. God bless you. God bless LAFLA's mission.
When I became a staff lawyer at an office just south of downtown, LAFLA was 49 years old. I thought that was old. This year, LAFLA turns 91, and that doesn't seem so old anymore. I don't know a lot about those first 49 years, but for the last 42 years, I've been deeply connected with LAFLA. As a lawyer, as a board member, as a teacher of future LAFLA lawyers, of whom I'm very proud. And now I'm theoretically, at least, retired, but I work every week with several different lawyers at LAFLA on problems facing Los Angeles that have grown truly, truly critical. We've made a lot of progress over the years. We've also lost ground in some areas. We still have a long way to go dealing with poverty, with racism, with basic human rights or the lack thereof, for things like housing. But without LAFLA, I can say that our situation would be so much worse than it is. So thank you, LAFLA, for still being there, and thanks to everyone who supports LAFLA for making that continue to be a resource for all of us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Garcia, and I support the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles because they do such incredible work. They fight for communities that are underrepresented and underserviced. They fight for families that are trying to escape domestic violence. They fight for lower income families to retain their medical services. They fight to help students with their loans. They fight for veteran rights. And so I think especially at a time like this, we all need to pool together and help incredible organizations like the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. So thanks again, and we're going to get through this.
Thank you so much, Mike, for both your leadership and partnership as we navigate these uncharted waters together. A very special thank you to Gary for your lifelong commitment to legal aid and our clients, and Amy Garcia, such a talented and gifted actor with quite the range, from the George Lopez Show to Lucifer to Dexter. Big announcement. Tonight, our board is matching all donations up to $70,000. Come on in. Next, I would like to highlight our Veterans Justice Center. LAFLA's Veterans Justice Center is the oldest free legal services program for veterans in Los Angeles County. We help veterans obtain life-sustaining income, health, and housing benefits, and rebuild their lives through our full-scope, critical legal services. To highlight one of our clients' success stories, let me introduce you to Louis.
Pretty bad. I was in the Navy. I was in Australia. I was 19 years old. And the first thing I did when I went back to the ship was go to the medical. And they're the ones who patched me up and put this and said, you know, they have to make a record of it. But for 20-something years, they said it didn't happen. That really changed my outlook on a lot of things. And when I came home, that's when the problem started. I was on a trail that was just full of destruction. I hated everything about myself and about the people around me, everything. I was just not a happy person. Very angry inside, and I used alcohol to try and mask that, but that just ended up me getting angrier. And then I got into therapy, and I started really opening up and, you know, shedding tears if I had to. I had that stigma that, you know, veterans or soldiers they're not vulnerable, they don't cry. I found out that was a big lie. We do cry, and we are vulnerable.
Louis originally came in about a housing issue, and as we always do with every veteran who walks in our doors, we did a holistic assessment and discovered that he actually had a significant issue at attaining his VA benefits. He had applied for service-connected compensation a number of times over the course of 6 to 8 years and kept getting denied and denied and denied. And in looking into his claim, it became pretty clear to me that he had post-traumatic stress disorder. He had been in therapy for some time, and in telling his story to me, it was so apparent that the effects he's experiencing from his post-traumatic stress symptoms were because of his service. He'd gone through a lot while in the military. Sometimes when you sit down and you talk to a veteran about their service, it's just so clear how much it's impacted them. And Lois is one of those clients who he just needed help.
For Mallory to go up to bat for me and for so long and just give 110%, and being able to go home and tell my children that, look, we're gonna be okay. I have a feeling that what Mallory's doing for me that no one's ever done before. Then there's a spark of, towards hope. And somebody really goes out of their way to help you, and I don't know how to repay her,
What I love about the Veterans Justice Center is that we don't just help a veteran with one thing. It's not that they come in about an eviction issue or they come in about their veterans benefits and that's all that we help them with. We make sure that we're helping them as much as we can. Any issue that they might have, we find a way to help them, or we find a way to get them connected with resources to help them. Because we don't want these veterans who are often left behind to not get the services that they need from us too.
I didn't feel I was gonna make it sometimes. The load was so heavy, the burden was so heavy, and Mallory helped me stand back up and give me hope. And I'm really, really grateful for this foundation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. My family thanks you too.
Good evening. Welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Lance Reddick, and I'd like to take a minute or two to explain to you why I think it's important to support the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. And I'd like to start with a few quotes from some of the lawyers and paralegals that work there. Just because people don't have enough money to pay a lawyer does not mean they shouldn't have access to that courthouse door. We're dealing with litigants that often really don't know how to fill out the forms or even know what they got served with. When it's somebody's housing, when it's somebody's benefits, we want them to have a fair chance. Especially now, at a time when the COVID pandemic and massive civil unrest is putting into stark relief the imbalances in our society and justice system. We need organizations like the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. For over 90 years, LAFLA has been advocating for the poorest and most in need in our society, helping and standing up for people who would otherwise remain unrepresented. In areas as wide-ranging as student loan issues, immigration issues, eviction defense, domestic violence and family law, housing, and homelessness. So please, give generously so that this great organization can continue to do its work. We need the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Hi, LAFLA supporters. I'm Becky Dennison and I work with Venice Community Housing. I've worked with Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles for the last 18 years. And I don't think there's actually been a day since that time that they haven't represented either the organization I've worked for at the time, representing low-income and unhoused people, or directly representing tenants or unhoused folks that I was working with. They're completely and 100% dedicated to working with community-based organizations and implementing a community lawyering model that values what's happening on the ground in our neighborhoods, that values the input and expertise of low-income and unhoused folks. Whether it was fighting redevelopment in downtown Los Angeles that would have displaced thousands, protecting residential hotel tenants across the city, working to ensure that the civil rights of unhoused folks are always protected and upheld in Venice and on the streets and sidewalks across our city and county. And most recently, helping Venice Community Housing fight back against exclusionary and discriminatory NIMBY efforts to stop the development of supportive housing in Venice. We recently won that battle just last week, and I'm happy to be an ongoing partner of Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, and congrats on another year of important work and providing access to justice for those who otherwise would be excluded.
Hi everyone. So our auction is at $20,000. We invite you to go in and bid away. Thank you so much for helping us. And thank you so much, Lance, and fierce, amazing leader, Becky. Your partnership and passion for our clients enables us to ensure that no clients are left behind. I would tell you where to catch Lance's work, but he has been in literally everything. But you can still catch him on HBO's Wired. Now, we have a very special performance by former Cirque du Soleil artist, the Esteban Sisters. Get ready.
Bonsoir, I am Karine and I'm a former performer of Cirque du Soleil. My twin sister and I are thrilled to be part of your program today. As children, we grew up in a dysfunctional household. We had to deal with family abuse and issues with disability. It was toxic, but we were lucky enough to have each other. Even though we look exactly alike, I'm completely different than my twin sister. And despite our different views and opinions, we decided to drop our judgments and be there for one another. With our trapeze act, we wish we will inspire you that no matter how different we are, we need to open our heart and support others. To be there for the other one, it's the best thing.
Bonsoir, I am Sarah, the left-handed one, the catcher on trapeze, and the dreamer. As tough as it was our childhood, Karen and I knew that we always had each other. Someone to catch you when you fall, someone to speak up when you lose your voice, someone to see when you're in dark and despair. So many people in Los Angeles will need that someone, a catcher or a flyer. When we learn what LAFLA is doing, exactly that, we wanted to support. Like in the circus or in real life, my twin and I saved each other's life many times, landed safely, because we were not alone. Tonight, we want to dedicate this special performance to all of you who made this with your contribution possible. Merci beaucoup, and enjoy the show.
That was beautiful. Did you know that in Text to Give, if you give us $100, that allows us to advise a tenant with a COVID eviction? $250 helps someone who could not get through that pesky unemployment hotline. Thank you so much to everyone who has been showing their support to LAFLA by making a contribution via Text to Give. I am simply overwhelmed by your generosity. If you are still looking for a way to make an impact in the lives of thousands of families, please consider making a gift via our Text to Give at the number below or at our auction site. As we near the end of our program this evening, don't go away, I would like to take a moment to thank our pro bono partners and the thousands of volunteers who rise to the occasion when our clients need their services the most. Here to highlight our critical pro bono work is the spectacular Fong Wong, pro bono director at LAFLA.
Hi, my name is Fong Wong, and I'm the pro bono director at LAFLA. I want to thank our pro bono partners, including our LAFLA board and Associates Advisory Board, who have been so responsive to our pro bono needs during these unprecedented times. LAFLA would not be able to continue its services without this tremendous outpouring of support. As soon as the pandemic hit, LAFLA had to adjust its operations to go remote. We quickly implemented video conference, online trainings, innovative remote projects, and even shared our technology with our community partners in order to continue our legal services and pro bono work. And we immediately saw the benefits of this. The Pro Bono Training Institute reported an increase in usage of the free online trainings and COVID-19 resources on its pbtraining.org website. We also saw an improvement in a number of our clients' lives as a result of pro bono work. Recently, McGuire Woods stepped in last minute to help the Lee family avoid eviction by negotiating more time for them to find a new home during the pandemic. Unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more of these cases as the laws postponing evictions lift in the near future. And LAFLA will definitely call on our pro bono partners to help. And the reality of homelessness has been felt more so by many domestic violence victims who are often forced to choose between sheltering in place with their abusers or become homeless or separated from their children. In a recent case, Munger Tolles Olson successfully represented Jesse and was able to reunite him with his young son. We're so thankful to our law firm partners and to our many, many long-term DV clinic volunteers who, along with our dedicated staff, help over 1,500 clients file DV restraining order petitions each year. Just as impressive, each year, LAFLA staff trains hundreds of volunteers to help clear over 1,000 criminal records of community members, helping to rectify the disparate impact that the justice system has on people of color and giving them opportunities for a brighter future. And Jake is a good example of why expungement work is so important for our community. After a volunteer helped clear Jake's record, he was able to find a job as a security guard. And while on the job, Jake actually helped prevent someone from committing suicide and was recently honored for his service. Without pro bono involvement at our expungement clinics and our many other projects, success stories like Jake's, Jesse's, and the Lee family would not be possible. Again, I want to thank the pro bono partners who, by giving just a bit of their time, have made such a huge difference in the lives of so many. And I encourage folks to continue to volunteer to help others who are still in need.
I just want to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you, Legal Aid Fund of LA. The significance of the work you're doing is paramount, and you've been doing it for over 90 years. As a person that's born and bred here in Los Angeles, I really don't have the words to express how much it means that you come in for those who've been fighting all of their lives and who've run out of fight, for those underserved communities, for veterans who fought for our country and who are forgotten and whose civil rights are forgotten. And that's where you come in and you're a voice for those people. And it means so much. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, which means that your work has tripled. I know this. So it was very important to me to take a moment to say, I appreciate you. I stand for you. I stand with you. I support you. And here's to another 90 years of selfless work for those that need it. You are so appreciated.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Delwood, Executive Vice President at the Liberty Hill Foundation. Over the course of the last 6 months, we've proudly partnered with LAFLA to launch a new program to prevent evictions and homelessness. We call it Stay Housed LA County. It's an unprecedented effort to ensure that renters know their rights and have access to legal assistance to exercise them. LAFLA's leadership has been critical in designing and implementing this countywide effort. Liberty Hill also works closely with LAFLA on multiple coalitions, fighting together to level the playing field. LAFLA's legal and policy expertise accelerates campaigns and empowers communities. Now more than ever, we need LAFLA. We need to push harder and further for racial justice, immigrant justice, housing justice, access to justice. Thank you, LAFLA, for all that you've done, and congratulations on over 90 years serving the greater Los Angeles community. Good night.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for your leadership at Liberty Hill and also for being such a trusted partner to us. We are proud to have begun the Stay Housed LA County initiative with you and all of our partners. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank the Academy Award winning and brilliant and queen, Regina King, for joining us this evening. Regina's new movie, One Night in Miami, has already garnered critical acclaim, and I would be surprised if it didn't garner her an Oscar nomination. I would like to thank Carissa Coase and Jim Hornstein and the entire development committee for making tonight possible. And also Hamid Jahangard and Sarah Williams. They're kicking butt tonight. Before I introduce our last speaker and close out this evening's program, I want to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors, supporters, friends and donors, and the staff. And I know this has been an incredibly difficult year, and I'm so heartened to see you come together to support the diverse communities and clients that we serve. Thank you so much. Mil gracias. I am so humbled to introduce our final speaker tonight. He has been an inspiration to me and to so many in Los Angeles and the nation. The LA Times called him the patron saint of unconditional compassion. Please welcome the only, the one and only, the one the homies call Father Greg.
Hi, I'm Father Greg Boyle, the founder of Homeboy Industries, and I'm honored to be with you this night, this virtual gala celebration of LAFLA. The Legal Aid Foundation has, for nearly a century, helped create and imagine a circle of compassion in this city, and then imagine nobody standing outside that circle. So many of the homies at Homeboy Industries have benefited from the care and the expertise of this legal team. The poet Wallace Stevens writes, we live in the description of the place, but not in the place itself. So with LAFLA, we hold out for the place itself. We hold out for a community of kinship such that God, in fact, might recognize it. We hold out for the dismantling of the barriers that exclude, so that we can erase the margins by standing out at them. LAFLA has done this forever. They are true and good and just, and they create the place itself. I'm grateful to thank them on all our behalf. Thank you.